Brooke Pryor covers the Steelers for ESPN, our friend. I'm glad we worked it out where Victoria was here when you were coming on, so you guys had a chance to connect. How are you, my friend?
I am better now that I got to talk to Victoria before I went on air. I feel like that was your Christmas present to both of us. So
I have
thank
more.
you so much. You're in the giving spirit, the giving mood.
I try to be as often as I can, whether the holiday is near or not. The Steelers lost to the Eagles, and people were then going, "Are the Steelers done?" I would like to point out that the Eagles are 12-2, and the game was in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like we do this with every team every year. I do think Pittsburgh's closing stretch of games is very challenging. How do you characterize their position in the playoff race and how they're playing right now?
I really think that this game against Baltimore on Saturday is going to tell everyone a lot about the direction of these Steelers going into the postseason and how far they'll go in the postseason. Because you're right. I mean, the Eagles are a wagon. They've had their issues this year. They're very public issues. But, at the end of the day, they are a very good football team. And I think to me, the loss in and of itself is not concerning, but the way that the Steelers lost is starting to put some red flags at half mast. They're not all the way up, but there were things in that game that are concerning. The poor tackling, for one, was really eye-opening, and that's a tough thing to correct when you're going into that stretch of 3 games in 11 days. You're not tackling to the ground in practice. They're not even wearing pads in practice, so you have to hope that was just a blip. And then offensively, I mean, they couldn't run the ball. Najee Harris has that fumble that is very rare. That's not something that he does often. And although it was charged to Russell Wilson, not Najee Harris, but
right.
Still, I mean, he was surprised that it did get charged, that it didn't get charged to him. And also, they weren't really able to have the number of explosive plays that we've seen recently out of this offense. There didn't really seem to be anyone that filled the George Pickens void, and I would be really surprised if he plays against the Ravens. But the thing that I think about is the 2020 season when the Steelers started off 11-0, and then they lost to the Commanders in a weird COVID rescheduled game. Kind of felt like just a weird week. And then they ended up losing 4 of their last 5. They made the playoffs. They hosted the Browns in the playoffs and lost that game pretty definitively. And it felt like that Commanders loss was really the thing that just set off this cascade of bad, just bad juju, bad momentum. And I want to see how the Steelers respond to the loss in Philly against Baltimore to see if they can stop this from snowballing into these next couple games. Yes, they've made the playoffs, but they can still win the division. They can still host a home playoff game. They still have not won a playoff game since 2016, and they have a real shot to break that streak this year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons for it, a lot of reasons for the offense not being as explosive as it was, and it was interesting that Justin Fields more of a runner than a thrower, but the Steelers' offense, their running game got better when Russell Wilson took over as quarterback because he presented more things for the defense to worry about. All of a sudden, now George Pickens becomes even more of a weapon, and they haven't had him. And what they haven't had is really dynamic play out of anybody else, right?
Yeah, and I think that one of the surprising things is that Mike Williams has been a non-factor since he had the game-winning touchdown catch against the Commanders. I thought that with George Pickens out, well, surely they'll just slide Mike Williams into that spot, but for whatever reason, he is just not being used very much, and I think that that's a mistake. I don't know if the coaching staff is seeing something in practice that tells them he's not ready to be used like that, or if there's not the same rapport between him and Russell Wilson the way that there is with Russ and George Pickens. But Mike Williams is really good at contested catches, at bringing the ball in and tight window throws. Those are all things that George Pickens is good at. Mike Williams is not George Pickens, but he still is a vertical threat that they need. So that has been surprising. I mean, Pat Freiermuth has been really good. He has touchdowns in 3 straight games, but they need a receiver beyond just Calvin Austin, who has also been a really solid player. But the last time the Steelers played the Ravens, Pickens had 12 targets. He had 8 catches, 89 yards, since then, they've really been spreading the ball out a lot more, and it works to an extent, but I am very interested to see how they manage this Ravens defense that is really taking away explosive plays. They're going to have to be okay checking the ball down, getting a lot of yards after catch.
Well, the last time these two teams played, it was a field goal fest. The Steelers won. They kicked 6 field goals. The Ravens only kicked 3, right? They had a touchdown and 3 field goals. Was that how that?
I believe that's right. Justin Tucker had 2 misses.
Yeah.
Hell was not frozen over, but I think the temperature did drop a little bit when that happened. I wouldn't expect that to happen again this week, even though he struggled. But, I mean, that was a big reason, a big thing that helped them.
Yeah, but, I mean, 6 field goals, in many ways, that's an unacceptable offensive performance, even though you obviously got in position to have 6 scoring drives. They've obviously need to correct that, but it does come back to your ability to run the football for that team. Are they going to get T.J. Watt back?
That, I think, it is more certain than the other defensive injuries. I don't think that he's going to go into this game without an injury designation. I would expect him to be listed as questionable, but looking at the trajectory of how he's practiced this week, he didn't participate Tuesday and limited Wednesday. The injury designation practice report isn't out today, but watching him, it looked like he was participating more than the last couple days. The man's also an alien and is probably capable of healing himself, like regenerating an ankle in 5 days. So I think that he will be available, which is huge because the Steelers' defense has been so good at figuring out Lamar Jackson in a way that nobody else can. And the outside linebackers are a big part of that, and T.J. Watt is probably the biggest part of that. And they'll have Alex Highsmith this week, which they did not have the first time they played the Ravens.
Yeah, my guy. My guy, Alex Highsmith, shouts to his dad, who might be listening in Wilmington right now. Brooke Pryor covers the Steelers for ESPN. The other team you used to cover, you talk about healing an ankle. Can Patrick Mahomes do the same thing with a high ankle sprain? You cover the league. If you were the Chiefs, would you play him this week, or would you give him another week off?
Any other player, no, you don't play him. But he's Patrick Mahomes, and he has played through worse. The fact that he's been a full participant in practice every day this week tells me that they're going to play him. I mean, the Steelers or the Chiefs don't have to win this game in Houston to still clinch the number 1 seed. I mean, I think that it's going to come down to the Chiefs in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But I think that the Chiefs, they know.
I think they do have to win it.
Mahomes, because they've shown him again. They do have to win it. That's what.
Yeah. Is that what you said? I'm sorry. I blanked.
No, I think I blanked and said they don't have to win it. I get to this point in the season, and I just wait for the playoff scenarios email to come out every week, and that kind of clears things up. But Patrick Mahomes, I tweeted this after I saw the injury. I said, okay, now the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, because it's like clockwork. Usually it happens in the postseason, so they're a little ahead of schedule, but Mahomes will have some kind of injury that you think, oh, there's no way that he can play through this. Like, they're done. And then they win it all, and that's what this is. It's just, a little early this year. Yeah,
because Buffalo has 3 byes to close the season out. They play the Patriots twice and the Jets once. So they're going to finish 14-3, and they've beaten Kansas City. So Chiefs have to win twice in their last 3 games, and none of them are easy. Houston, they're going to be at Heinz Field. Is it still called Heinz Field? What is it called now?
Acrisure Stadium.
Is that a ketchup?
It is not. It is an insurance company, I believe. It's not nearly as catchy.
That's not delicious at all. You can't eat insurance. And they also play at Denver to close out the season. And the Broncos might need that for, at the very least, seeding, because the Broncos and Chargers are battling it out for 6-7. I think we know. Do you see a team in the AFC that can sneak into the playoffs, really?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm trying to think of who's even on the bubble. Usually it's the Steelers, and it's weird that they've already clinched, and it's kind of allowed me to tune out the rest of the bubble.
I think Miami has a chance, but that loss last week, I thought, killed them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the Broncos are just the most interesting team that would be a wild card team. I mean, the league has to be looking at this saying, wow, we truly could not have scripted this better. If the Broncos end up coming to Pittsburgh in the first round, that would just be, I mean,
Oh my
ratings
gosh.
gold. They'd get to make up all of the, Russ obviously didn't play when they went to Denver and won and still got the petty game ball from Mike Tomlin. Imagine now Russell Wilson playing in the playoffs, chance to give the Steelers their first playoff win in almost a decade against his former team that went south so quickly, former coach that didn't necessarily enjoy working with him. I mean, that would just, the league simply couldn't dream it up better than that. So that to me is the most intriguing team. And I think the Broncos are playing really well. I mean, Bo Nix has really surprised me. I've been pleasantly impressed with him this year.
Yeah, I think this game, the Broncos and the Chargers coming up this weekend, is like simply one of the best games on the card. And I like Denver. There's something about the Chargers that is leaving me flat. Maybe I'm scarred by past Chargers performances, but I have not been super impressed. They probably should have beaten the Chiefs, right? A few weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they let it get away.
Yeah.
Brooke Pryor.
That they.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I was going to say that they did it. That is the Chargers' curse. Their curse is injuries and also wins that get away that they should have had.
Yeah, but you would think that would have been eliminated with a better coach, because I think Jim Harbaugh is an elite coach, and they haven't been coached by elite coaches for a long time. I can't remember the last one the Chargers had. Was it Marty Schottenheimer?
That is a good question.
Don't even worry about it. Don't.
I was going to say, now you're asking me to go back in my brain, and I do not have a Pro Football Reference type memory, unfortunately. But we can say it's been a minute since
you were in
have.
Fourth grade when Marty Schottenheimer was the coach of the Chargers.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was paying more attention to Carolina basketball at that point than San Diego Charger football.
Oh, you want to talk about the Tar Heels? You want to talk about Tar Heel basketball?
I don't want to cry on air, so I don't know that that's in my best interest. Talk about underwhelming. They have that in common with the Chargers.
It's just not been good. As Brian Geisinger, a friend of mine who came on earlier, said, they've been close in a lot of these games, and they have been. They came back against Florida, came back against Kansas, didn't come back against Auburn, but they've been close in a lot of these games. But boy, they have looked like the second best team by a lot, even in the close ones. I thought they were clearly the silver medalist in these games. Brooke Pryor, gold medalist. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I never know where it's going to end up. I appreciate you coming on all year. We'll talk to you in 2025.
Absolutely. Have a Merry Christmas and enjoy circling back after the holidays.
I will.
Everyone. I am jealous of that.
Yeah, I will. I promise. Take care.
See ya.
Brooke Pryor here.